All right, so now that we've got that out of the way.
Yeah, now that we was-upped.
Yeah. I think people should start doing that more.
Yeah, we should bring it back, like, for real.
Yeah, okay, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. That and, like, just all the old Budweiser commercials, like the Three Frogs, Budweiser. Those guys.
Dude, that was a good one. Yeah.
When was it Budweiser? You know what I randomly started thinking about and like singing out loud at work the other day?
It's totally impossible for me to know that.
Okay, yeah, it's fair enough. I think this was a Bud Light commercial, but it was like, I love burritos at 4 a.m., parties that never end, and twins.
Was that Budweiser?
I don't remember, dude. I just remember, and twins. And I kept doing that at work the other day. And twins.
And twins.
Yeah, that's got to come back 100%.
Yeah. If I could resurrect one ad campaign, and I don't even fucking remember what product that was. If I could bring back one ad campaign, yeah, that's it.
That's the one.
Yeah, 100%.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Left Unread podcast.
To Left Unread.
Yeah, welcome to Left Unread, the show that takes no prisoners and kicks every ass in the room twice.
Nards fully shredded, ladies and gentlemen. It's Left Unread.
Shit yeah, brother.
Yeah, thanks for coming back and tuning in to part 2 of the History of the Kings of Britain, a monumentally stupid book that I've been having a lot of fun reading.
Yeah.
And I hope people are having, well, at least some fun listening to.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're up against kind of a hurdle here because part 2s for us, this is our second part 2.
Yeah.
They have historically been a difficult, trial.
Yeah, let's, we'll try to keep it below 2 hours this time, I guess.
I don't even care. I think we should absolutely aim for 2 hours because these are really fun episodes to make, and I really like them.
Yeah, honestly. But first, before we get into anything, Mr. Cameron, would you like to do an ad spot?
No.
Okay, thanks for the ad spot, Cam.
Hey, no problem. No, yeah, we do have one. You ready?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Dixon's Discount Dad Depot, your one-stop shop for all your new dad needs. Some of us are blessed with real great dads that fit nicely into our lifestyles and complement our day-to-day dad needs. Hi, Dad. For those of us without the perfect dad, there's Dixon's Discount Dad Depot. Our premium line of organically raised and sustainably sourced discount dads come in every conceivable shape, size, orientation, and temperament. Here are just a few examples of our terrific dads. Looking for some structure and some rules in your life? Sounds like a job for shrewd disciplinarian dad. You're grounded, mister. For the music lover, there's stubbornly close-minded classic rock dad. Eric Clapton is the best guitarist ever, and that's all there is to it. Feeling like your other parent needs to be kept in check? Try yells inappropriately at spouse in public, Dad, because mom's had it too good for too long. And that's not all Dixon's has to offer. We also carry a full line of nutritious proprietary dad chow in dry and wet formulas for the hungry dad on the go, as well as sporty dadwear like golf shirts, white New Balance sneakers, reading glasses that you wear like a necklace that snap together magnetically, and more. We also carry grooming and hygiene tools like nose hair trimmers and blood pressure medication, and dad toys to keep your new dad stimulated and happy. Just check out our selection of factory refurbished riding mowers. Our dads are available in all price ranges, too. From platinum deluxe options like cheats nonstop while traveling for business dad, all the way down to used dollar bin dads like took out loans and credit cards in your name while you were a kid and destroyed your financial future dad. And now, for a limited time, if you mention Left Unread at checkout, you'll receive 20% off. That's right, folks, 20% off last year's top-selling model. Frequently confuses his multivitamins and his Cialis dad. He's a hoot. Dixon's Discount Dad Depot. For name brand dads at discount price. Come on down to Dixon's where the dads are nice. Thanks, Dixon's.
Yeah, I actually just got my a package of dad toys in earlier today, and it comes with these really nice Harley-Davidson branded boat shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always taken the stance, and I stand by this, that Harley-Davidson gear is Hello Kitty for old men. Like old white men. It's the same fucking thing. Just anytime I see a dad wearing his like 2016 Laconia, New Hampshire, blah, like, sorry, man. Yeah, that's Hello Kitty for dads.
That is Hello Kitty, father.
Yeah. you are as lame to me as if you were wearing actual Hello Kitty. That's how I feel.
Hello Kitty backpack, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, anyway. Yeah, that's our ad spot.
Nice.
Thanks,
Dixon.
Yeah, Dixon's Discount Dad Depot.
Yeah. All right, great. Yeah, nice. Very nice. All right, yeah, so for today's episode, we'll be getting into parts 2 and 3 of the history of the kings of Britain. Now, these parts are called Before the Romans Came, and can you guess what the next one is?
This time it's personal?
The Coming of the Romans.
Fuck yeah.
So initially my plan was to do one more chapter after this, but this was actually already like 80 pages or something like that, and I ended up writing a lot. And at first, I was getting much more granular with the detail, and then I realized it doesn't fucking matter. Like, these nobody's going to remember these names. I don't remember these names. Yeah. It's really, really quite amazing. And
so what you're saying is the episode's going to start off, like, really in-depth and just get wildly, like, broad strokes by the end of it?
Yep, yeah, we're just going to be...
All right.
Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom.
Your thought process is going to be really noticeable.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, one of the things I really like about this is as you're reading it, there's occasionally footnotes from the translator, Lewis Thorpe, and you can tell he gets, like, pretty sarcastic in some of them, where you can tell he's just, like, getting kind of fed up with, like, Geoffrey's bullshit. So it's actually really pretty funny, like, when you get to, like, a certain point, and you can tell Geoffrey's just fucking bullshitting and forgets some of the things he bullshitted about before and then contradicts himself. and Lewis just, like, has this, like, really snarky footnote, like, pointing out. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I'd like to read this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think you'd enjoy it. It's also written really stupidly. Like, some of it's very... It's always very, like, staccatic, and some of it, sometimes, like, it's just, like, very, like, brutally straightforward. Right. And just stupid. But then he gets into these, like, also really, really long, like gory, like, sections. Like, I flagged one later that I actually thought was pretty cool, like, the prose. Maybe it's just the way it's translated, but I actually really liked it. Oh, so I'll read that, and that's, like, right at the end. But yeah, so let's get into it.
Hell yeah, man. I'm cock-locked and ready to rock.
Yep. Part 2 of the history of the kings of Britain. All right, so, last time we were talking, and I basically gave a little background about Geoffrey, that when he wrote this, It's not really believed that he made it up. There's a lot of different places that he could have gotten the information from. It's not really necessary, and there are some contemporaneous Welsh sources, although they're a little bit later than him. But people think that they're not based off of Geoffrey, but that Geoffrey was based off of just earlier versions of that. Doesn't really matter. So there's that, and then there was part 1 that we went over where this dude named Brutus, who is a Trojan, just led his people across Africa and then Europe and killed a bunch of Gauls, and then went to Britain and beat the shit out of a bunch of giants and killed them, and then settled. And that was basically part 1.
Yeah, man, and you'll notice that this is one of the areas where Geoffrey got it right, because there are actually no more giants in Britain today.
Yeah, so that's how you know this is true.
Yeah.
If he was lying, wouldn't
giants.
there be giants?
Yeah. Absence of giants is evidence of the presence of Brutus.
Yes, exactly. So Brutus married this girl named Ignoge. Mm-hmm. And so we get to before the Romans came. So Brutus and Ignoge, they've been fucking, and they had 3 large adult sons.
Every man's dream.
Yeah. So his 3 large sons were named Locrinus, Camber, and Albanactus.
Oh, Camber. I wonder if that's like my distant ancestor.
Well, Camber is where the Welsh word for Wales, like Cymru and Cymru, come from. So he's got Locrinus, Camber, and Albanactus. Brutus would die 23 years after his landing on Britain, and the large lads buried him in the walls of the town he founded. And if you'll remember, that's Trinovantum, or modern-day London. So after this, they would divide the kingdom up between them. Locrinus, the eldest, inherited the part of the island that would be called Logria, known as, Logier in medieval Welsh, and likely corresponds to modern-day Eastern England.
I remember learning how that double L is pronounced.
Yeah.
It's like a it's like Shogir or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably totally wrong about that.
Shogir.
Yeah, I remember watching something though, and it's like a breathy.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's that insane town.
Oh yeah, like
in
the
Wales.
Gilgri.
Yeah, and I heard somebody pronounce it, and it did sound like they were going
yeah,
like that. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Welsh is a bananas language.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so that Thogir, Camber received the region on the west of the island that would become Wales, but was called Cambria after him, with the people being called the Cambri. In Welsh, this was known as Cymru, and the people being the Cymri. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not exactly sure, but
yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Albanactus, the youngest, received Scotland, which at the time he called Albany. Alba is the Scottish Gaelic word for Scotland, and in Welsh it is Ir Alban.
Alba Gubra. Something like that, I don't fucking know. This is, so, never mind. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for like an Albany, New York joke, but you think of it and
workshop it during the episode, and you can come in at the end.
At any time.
Yeah, at any time you can interrupt me with an Albany joke.
Well, I mean, I feel like I already do that, so.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for the permission on episode 13. But
if you are going to interrupt me, which you will, I want that Albany joke.
All right.
All right, so while the large boys lived in peace, Humber, the king of the Huns, landed in Albany. Okay,
What?
so I just want you to know this is around like 1200 BCE.
Right.
So Humber, the king of the Huns.
Yeah. He's got this thing where like he loves the idea that all like people are kind of named after their like leaders.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just him making things easy for himself to remember. Like, okay, so who was the leader of the Cambri? Oh, Camber. And Locrinus is from Logria. And Albanactus, well, his kingdom's Albany.
Oh, and here's the thing, dude. He does not give a fuck whatsoever about conflicting timelines.
Yeah, because the Huns don't come around until, like, the 300s AD, right?
He's just, like... And also, like, he'll take people where there's, like, documented evidence that they weren't alive at the same time. And he's like, they were alive at the same time.
Yeah.
Like he has all this anachronistic shit. And it's, like, maddening because, like, you'll hear him talking about the Franks. And the Franks were, like, a late antiquity, early medieval peoples. and he's talking about them like 1,500 years
Right.
BCE. And it's like maddening sometimes when you're like, I have no fucking clue what period of time we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, but to his credit, like, the entirety of his research was like... Let me put it to you this way. The entirety of his knowledge of British history is contained within this Word document that we're looking at right now. Like, he didn't have access to anything. He was just staring out into, like, a field of wheat, just thinking of things like, it's probably Humber.
Yeah.
The king of the Huns.
Yeah, as he's just, like, milking a fucking sheep or something like that.
I got it.
Yeah.
Milking a sheep.
Yeah, dude. All right, so the king of the Huns landed in Albany and killed our sweet boy Albanactus, and it caused his people to flee to Locrinus.
Okay.
So Locrinus convinced Camber to ally with him, and the brothers marched with their armies out to the river Humber, where they fought Humber, which I just put, like, at this point already, like, page 1 of the document, I put in parentheses, the fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, they went out to Humber to fight Humber, and they caused him to flee until he fell into the river and drowned. So Locrinus distributed the spoils among his allies and kept only some gold and silver for himself. And then, as Geoffrey adds, incidentally afterwards, he kept some women too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta keep something.
Yeah. So there were 3 women seized by old Locrinus, and those being the daughter of the king of Germany, whom Humber had seized along with the other 2 while sacking the countryside. Her name was Astrildis. Locrinus was enamored with the paleness of her white skin and was completely smitten and asked her to marry him.
Hell yeah.
Again, this is the king of Germany in like 1300 BCE or something.
I love how altruistic Locrinus is when he's like, "Oh wow, so this guy kidnapped you from like your home and like brought you over here to this place and like, I killed him and I set you free."
Well, lucky for you, you're with me now.
So I'm gonna keep you now.
Yeah.
You're never going home.
Yeah. Old Corineus, and you remember him as the guy who beat the giants.
Sure.
In the first part. So Corineus was still kicking around, and this pissed him right the fuck off, since Locrinus was supposed to marry Corineus' daughter. So he went to Locrinus and said thus, "These then, Locrinus, are the rewards you offer me in exchange for all the wounds which I have received through my allegiance to your father at the time when he was waging war with unknown peoples? My daughter is to be passed over, and you are to demean yourself to the point where you will be prepared to marry some barbarian woman or other? You will not do this unpunished, as long, that is, as strength is left to this right hand of mine, which has torn the joy of living from many a giant up and down the Tyrrhenian shores."
Wow.
So he's fucking pissed. He bellowed this repeatedly at Locrinus while just swinging an axe around.
So did he repeat it verbatim? Because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, hey man, that's what Geoffrey says, yeah. He was there.
I think I could probably come pretty close, but I don't think that I could say that twice in a row from memory. He must have been pretty mad.
Yeah, he was a mad guy, yep. So then some friends talked sense into Locrinus, and Locrinus was like, all right. And he married Corineus' daughter, Gwendolen. However, he still wants some of that Astrildis coochie, so he dug a cave beneath
This
Trinobantum.
poor girl.
I know.
This poor woman.
So he dug a cave beneath Trinobantum.
He's just gonna keep her in a fuck cave. She gets rescued from the king of the Huns, and he's like, "Perfect. I've got just the cave for you, you white, beautiful creature."
Love it down here.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. So he shoves her in this cave beneath Trinobantum, and he gets some servants and orders them to treat her with honor, like the cave demands. So he could sneak away and meet her whenever. She was kept down there for 7 years in secret, living in a cave, and she had a daughter named Habrin.
Things must have gotten pretty Gollum-esque down there.
Yeah, dude. Just this dirty, dank fuck cave below London.
Oh my god.
So Gwendolyn also gave birth to a son named Madden, who was sent to Corineus for training.
And that's where the originator of football video games
Yeah, that is the
from.
John Madden.
The original Madden.
Yeah, John Madden is actually a title, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the great John Madden.
The first John Madden.
It's like Caesar. Like, all the successive Maddens take the title John.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so anyway. So again, he gives this, like, bastard cave child to the father of his wife. So,
Oh, man.
it's, like, so depraved.
Oh, man.
So eventually Corineus dies, and Lucrinus deserted Gwendolyn to take Estrildis as his queen. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Madden wasn't the bastard cave child. Madden was Gwendolyn's kid.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, yeah, never mind. The cave child was Habrin, the daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, so Corineus dies, and Lucrinus deserts Gwendolyn. He's like, all right, now I can be with my cave queen in public. And he takes Estrildis as his queen. Gwendolyn, obviously slighted that she just got passed over for a fucking golem, she pissed off to Cornwall and then began haranguing Lucrinus at the border with skirmishes. Eventually they fought a battle at the river Stour, and Lucrinus was killed by an arrow. So,
All right, well.
there goes him.
Yeah, pour one out for a real one.
Yeah, real nice guy.
Good on you, Lucrinus.
Yeah, so Gwendolyn took control of the kingdom and had Habrin and Estrildis thrown into a river and drowned. And,
Fuck.
yeah, so
This, like,
really,
poor woman, like, her whole life was just, like, being kidnapped, and then kidnapped again, and then shoved in a cave,
Yep.
and then some lady she's never met is like, so you're the one, and then just drowns her
you're
and her
the
kid.
cave woman. Yeah, and I really like that the daughter, Habrin, is kind of like a red herring. Mm-hmm. Like,
She's just in the story.
yeah, it's like, oh, and then he had a daughter by Estrildis, and you're thinking, like, oh, shit, something's gonna happen, but then the two
I
of them
thought she
just
was
get-
going to marry his
Yeah.
real son in, like, a weird Oedipus thing, and that was going to
Yeah.
be the first king and queen of England or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
this, like, weird inbred cave couple.
And that's why they still marry their relatives to this day.
Yeah.
A fine tradition of incest.
Yep. But no, she just gets tossed into a river with her mom.
Fuck yeah.
And now this river is called Habrin in the British language, but was corrupted to Sabrina, and this is what he says, quote, the other tongue. Like,
Yeah, is that
I don't know what tongue he's talking about.
is that supposed to
but-
be like the Saxon language, maybe?
Dude, I don't know. It doesn't say. But you can tell he doesn't like that language.
Yeah, whichever one it
It got
is, he's not a
corrupted
fan.
to Sabrina in that
Maybe it was
tongue.
Crooked Greek.
Yeah, Crooked Creek, yeah. So Gwendolyn ruled for 15 years until John Madden came of age, and he took over, and Gwendolyn was like, all right, cool, I'm going back to Cornwall, and she rules there. And now in the book, it decides to give you a little time reference, and it says, at this time, the prophet Samuel reigned in Judea, Aeneas Sylvius was still alive, and Homer was considered to be a famous rhetorician and poet. So the story is currently in circa like 1100 to 1000 BCE.
Okay.
So John Madden had two sons, Memprecius and Malin. The motherfucker ruled for 40 years. And this is like one of the things, as you're reading all this pre-Roman shit, which is especially funny when he's talking about the Romans and the period of time that they're ruling is very short.
Yeah.
But, 1,000 years before that, these motherfuckers were ruling for like 30 to 40 years on average. And so he rules for 40 years, and then Memprecius, one of the two sons, kills the other one, Malin, in order to take the kingdom. And he was basically just like a rotten, filthy little lecher that killed everyone and was completely hated, and he had an awesome son named Abraucus. So Memprecius ruled for 20 years, and then he was just kind of like eaten by wolves one day.
Oh. There's no story there.
No, he was just like kind of like out in the woods, and a bunch of wolves ate him.
And then he's eaten by wolves.
It's like, okay, great.
Wow. It's a tough look.
So now at this time, Saul is ruling in Judea, and Eurysthenes in Sparta. So we're still roughly 1000 BCE, maybe like a little bit before. And now, wouldn't you know, another long reign, our boy Abracus ruled for 39 years. Like Brutus and the first Cinci, Abracus fucked up some Gauls on the mainland. He then founded the city of Caerbrach on the far side of the Humber. Caerbrach would become the Roman city of Eboracum, the site of two Roman emperors' deaths, Septimius Severus and Constantius Chlorus. Today, the city is known as York.
Nice. I don't remember Constantius Chlorus. Is he like a later emperor?
He's Constantine's father.
Oh, I just didn't know I guess I knew Constantius, but I didn't remember Chlorus.
Yep.
There you go.
All right, so another update. King David was now reigning in Judea, and Silvius Latinus was king in Italy. And Israel, Gad, Nathan, and Asaph were the prophets.
Okay.
All right. So now our boy been fucking. He had 20 wives, 20 sons, and 30 daughters. And I wrote down all of them because they're awesome.
Do it. Let's go through every single one of these.
Here are their names.
Do them fast.
Okay, here are the names. The boys. Brutus Greenshield, Margadud, Cecilius, Regin, Morbid, Bloodud, Lagan, Budloin, Kinkar, Spaden, Gaul, Dardan, Eldad, Ivor, Kangu, Hector, Karen, Rud, Assaracus, and Buell.
Nice, Buell. Love it. Okay, now the ladies.
And now the ladies. Gloigen, Ignigen, Udus, Ginlian, Gordad, Angarad, Gwynlado, Tungastal, Gorgon, Medlin, Methahel, Orar, Maelor, Cambrada, Reagan, Gale, Ecube, Nest, Chine, Stadudad, Claudus, Ebrine, Blangan, Abalak, Angoez, Galaez, she was supposed to be super hot, Edra, Anoris, Daliad, and Egron. Now, one of the things I noticed while I was reading these really made me think of the dwarves and the Hobbit.
Yeah.
First of all, because there's only one with two names, and that's Brutus Greenshield, like Thorin Oakenshield.
Yeah, and then there's
Gloigen, who's like glowing. Yeah.
There's one called Gorgon, like Medusa.
Yeah.
One of the ladies. And
then there's straight up one called Gaul.
Yeah, and then there's Gale. Gael is one of the ladies, which is like an old term for any of like the Celtic peoples of the British Isles.
So I'm guessing J.R.R. Tolkien obviously definitely like read this book.
Yeah.
And he was probably inspired by this when it
he
came
was
to the
a professor of the Saxon language. He spoke he like was fluent in like Old English and or Anglo-Saxon I should say. But he spoke Old English and taught it. And so like a lot of his naming came from that.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, Brutus Greenshield.
And like a little side note, did you know that like, and obviously he was constantly like retconning things and adding things to the stories, but in his like revised like final published edition of Lord of the Rings, there's all these appendices to the book, and they describe how like none of the names listed, with the exception I think of the Elvish and the like the Rohirrim, but all of the like common tongue names are like not their actual names. So the hobbits had like their own language, and so none of them were supposedly actually called what he calls them in the book. They were translations from like to convey the same themes. So anyway, I don't remember what any of them are, but apparently Frodo Baggins is called like Floppy Boppy or something. I don't fucking know, but it's not it's not Frodo Baggins.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, the mythology of Lord of the Rings is so
it's amazing. Yeah,
rad.
we could go on for forever, so I'll have to cut that short now.
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, but although I do love talking that. So yeah, these are all amazing names, by the way. So you know, if you have any pets that you're looking for a name for, might I suggest Gloigen?
This is my dog Dardan.
This is my goldfish and Garad.
I might actually name my firstborn son Buell.
Buell.
I like the name Buell or Brutus Greenshield.
Yeah, Brutus Greenshield's great. Yeah,
that's a pretty legit name.
And I like how there's just a Hector thrown in. You know.
Yeah.
Right
well, they are
Trojans.
Trojans. They are
right
Trojans.
After Kangu, dude.
Yeah. He was.
Anyway, some of these, a lot of these kids married into other prominent European families and became rulers. So this line of freaks and and lepers and weirdos came to rule all of Europe, which really makes a lot of sense. Brutus Greenshield became king and ruled for 12 years. Lael succeeded him and built the city of Carlisle in the north, which is now known as Carlisle. So at this time, Solomon was building the Temple of the Lord in Jerusalem, and Silvius Epictetus, quote, succeeded his father Alba in the kingship of Rome. Of course, Rome doesn't yet exist, and Geoffrey is definitely referring to Alba Longa, and in Roman mythology, Silvius Epictetus is Attis.
Okay.
So, as you can see, he doesn't give a shit what the fuck he calls things, as long as you sort of get the gist and where it is. So Lael ruled for 25 years before his son, and this is my favorite one in the entire story.
Dude, oh my god.
Rud Hud Hudibras.
Oh my god.
Took over for 39 years.
That's three names for everybody. It's Rud or Rud Hud. I want to say it's Rud Hud Hudibras.
Yeah. Rud Hud Hudibras. I have probably said this in every different pronunciation I can think of. Maybe 100 times since I've been reading this book, because it is amazing. That's by
great
far
name.
it's my favorite name I've ever seen.
Rud Hud Hudibras.
Yeah. 3 words. Rud Hud Hudibras. And so he built the cities of Canterbury, Winchester, and Shaftesbury. Oh, Rud Hud Hudibras. Oh, it's so good. Now, he was succeeded by his son Bladud, who was a leper, and he built the city of Bath, thinking the hot baths cured him. Now, despite being a leper, he ruled for 20 years. He was a big fan of necromancy. He thought I love this story. He thought he found a way to fly after constructing wings for himself. But when he jumped off a building, he crashed into the Temple of Apollo and splattered like a tomato.
Nice.
So I guess that's leprosy, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes it'll make you make kooky decisions.
But yeah, just leapt off with a bunch of wings. Probably a bunch of people I don't think you should be doing that, blood dude. It's not a good idea. And, he just crashes into a temple and just absolutely, melts.
I think it's hilarious that they had a Temple of Apollo there.
Yeah. I mean, there were Trojans.
They were Trojans,
Apollo,
I guess. Yeah.
Still Mediterranean.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they worshipped Apollo. I'm sure there's
in the Iliad they talk about, which is obviously a Greek myth, but they talk about the Temple of Apollo in Troy.
Yeah, it's probably just a different name that they use.
Yeah, something I think Achilles sacks the Temple of Apollo, and that's the beginning of his downfall.
Yeah,
he's
exactly,
desecrates the temple, something like that.
Yeah, so he gets smited. So Lear took over, and he ruled for fucking 60 years. Guess what city he built?
Leicester.
He had 3 daughters, Gonrel, Regan, and Cordelia, that he divided the kingdom for initially, but he got pissed at Cordelia and chose not to give her any of it. It was basically, he was really needy and annoying, and he had been oh, well, I'm thinking about giving kingdom away to you and your sisters. And the other 2 sisters were, groveling at his feet, telling him how much he loved them. And Cordelia could tell that there were little snakes in the grass. And she basically, just to try to show that that's what they were doing, she was like, I love you only as in so much as that you have this land.
Yeah.
And it was a weird gambit, and it didn't pay off. And he was like, get the fuck off my island.
So this is King Lear.
Yeah, this is King Lear and his 3 daughters.
This is the basic story of that Shakespeare's based on.
Yep, King Lear and his 3 daughters.
Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia.
Yep. And so he married her to a Frankish king. Again, these are Franks in 900 BCE. And his name was Agenippus. So the other 2 daughters' husbands rebelled, so they were just ooh, he just splits it between the 2 of them. He marries them to some dukes, and they're all just all right, now let's get rid of this fucking old guy and take this shit for ourselves. So they rebel, and they took the kingdom while Lear was old. So he raced off to Gaul and sought refuge with Cordelia, who took him in. With their help, Lear took an army to Britain and led their charge to retake the island from his sons-in-law. Soon thereafter, he passed away, and the realm passed to his daughter Cordelia. However, the 2 sons of the now-dead dukes, Marganus and Cunidagius, rose up in rebellion and defeated Cordelia, who killed herself in prison. These 2 split the island in half, with Marganus in the south and Cunidagius in the north. So Marganus became indignant at not having the entire island under his command, and so he warred with Cuneidagius, but was defeated and killed in Wales at a site Geoffrey claims is now called Margon by the country folk. I couldn't find anything corroborating that there's a place called Margon. So Cuneidagius ruled for 33 years. It is now at this point that Geoffrey first mentions Rome's being founded by Romulus and Remus, even though he mentioned it earlier in the narrative as there being a king of Rome. So, whatever. There was it's just like, okay, Geoffrey. So there was a succession of kings that Geoffrey has no information on other than they're still Latin-esque names. Now, I know this is like technically like they're Latinizing a lot of it into the English translation, but I do think it's funny that there's totally not at all Latin-sounding names like Rud Hud Hudibras. And then there's just like a bunch of very Latin-esque names, which I don't write down. The only one that isn't is this dude named Jago. Isn't
Jago one of the characters in
A Song of Ice and Fire?
No, that Mortal Kombat ripoff game. Killer Instinct.
I'm not sure. I've never played it. I think there was like a Cal Jago though. And,
yeah, that sounds about right.
A Song of Ice and Fire. So anyway, it culminates in this dude named Gorboduc, who is the father of father of sons, Ferrex and Porrex. Which those both sound like under the sink chemicals.
Porrex, 20 mule team.
Yeah. So they quarreled over who should succeed Gorboduc, and Ferrex was killed in battle at the head of a Frankish invasion force. Their mother, Judon, became so enraged at Porrex that she hacked him to pieces.
Well,
motherly love.
Yeah, don't piss off mom.
Yeah, so Geoffrey then says the island came under a protracted civil war, as if that's not the entire story so far. And, that seems pretty common. So, after this, the island was partitioned into 5 kingdoms under 5 different kings. Dunvallo Molmutius would come out on top, including at one point disguising himself and his men as enemy soldiers after a battle to sneak into camp and kill 2 of the opponent kings. Now, Dunvallo Molmutius created the Molmutine laws. In Welsh, his name is Dyfnwal Molmud, a.k.a. Dyfnwal the Bald and Silent. I love that fucking name. So, a Welsh 18th century antiquarian and poet named Edward Williams, who, I shit you not, went by the name Iolo Marganwug.
Nice.
Forged these laws and claimed to have discovered them. His forgeries really seem to encapsulate Enlightenment thought, so, there's just, like, a bunch of shit about, like, life and liberty and property and shit like that. So you can tell it's probably not written.
Way ahead of its time.
Yeah. So Geoffrey does give some examples of the Molmutine laws, the ones that weren't made by YOLO. And these include things like fugitives seeking refuge in temples must be pardoned of their crimes. So another heavy hit in reign length, Dunvallo rules for 40 years. He had a couple sons, Belinus and Brennus. Now, there are stories of other Brennuses in ancient history. I remember you mentioned this last time.
Yeah.
So I did get some information on this. So there are stories of other Brennuses in ancient history, including a Gallic chieftain named Brennus that sacked Rome in the 4th century BCE, and one that tried to settle in Greece in the 3rd century BCE. There's apparently some thought that perhaps Brennus was a title. But by all accounts, this Brennus that sacks Rome may or may not kind of be related, but probably isn't related to the actual Brennus that did. Because it is supposed to happen like a few hundred years before. But also he sucks with time, so. Now there is something really funny, some more A Song of Ice and Fire stuff, where it talks about somebody named Bran the Blessed, who was apparently a giant and king of Britain in Welsh mythology. And this is possibly the same person as this Brennus. Also, apparently Bran means crow in Welsh, so that's an Easter egg for A Song of Ice and Fire, with Bran Stark, the three-eyed crow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Belinus and Brennus went to war with each other to control the island, but a treaty was signed that made Belinus the king and Brennus have autonomy over some parts of the north. Brennus eventually went to Norway and married the daughter of the king. Belinus heard this and seized Brennus' territory, and on Brennus' return trip he was waylaid by the Danes, whose king desired Brennus' new wife. They were all caught in a squall and carried to Britain. Belinus and Brennus warred again, but Brennus was defeated and fled the island on a single ship. The Danish king was allowed to leave Britain with his new girlfriend, so he got the wife.
His consolation prize.
Yeah. Yeah, women are really taking some L's in this story.
Absolutely. Very
Like,
transactional relationships with all the ladies going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a constant string of L's for them.
Not a very enlightened time period.
No, not at all.
Yeah, these guys were probably really into like Tucker Max.
Oh God. Oh,
You remember that fucking guy?
dude, yeah. And,
What was
also,
that book? I hope they serve beer in
Beers
hell.
in Hell, yeah. And then who is that other wicked online douchebag, Maddox, with the
Yeah, I remember being like 13 and thinking Maddox was really funny.
Yeah, so did our mutual friend.
Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then I remember like years later rediscovering it and being like, what the why did I think this was so great?
Oh, dude, and I even then I would laugh at it, and then just 2 years later, it was like, this dude is insufferable.
Yeah.
What is wrong? Yeah.
Like much of that stuff, it did not age well. I feel like pretty much anything that I found really funny between the ages of 13 and 15 or 16, I just
insufferable.
Yeah, and I've anything that I was into before that, I still find funny. So I still like the Muppets, things like that.
Muppets is great. Yeah,
the Muppets are hysterical, but there's that unique little period, I've tried going back and watching Homestar Runner. And
Homestar Runner is still cool.
Oh, it's great and it's endearing. I don't dislike it, but I used to cackle at that show, and I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, let's get down to blast tacks.
All right. I was born in a test tube. Oh no, I was born. That's it. I was born. I'm sorry.
Well, I improved on your methods a little bit. I added some chiaroscuro and shade in
I'll
it.
improve on your methods.
I was born in a test tube. All right, anyway.
Yeah, right there, strong bad. There's what does that coach say?
Great jorb.
Great jorb.
Oh, man. Cozy's been drinking Listerine. So anyway, so Belinus then codified his father's Mamertine laws as he ruled the entire island. So Brennus would hop around Gaul before marrying the daughter of Duke Corineus of the Allobroges. The Duke loved him and named him his heir. He just loved this dude who was laying pipe on his daughter so much. He was like, dude, you're definitely my heir. And Brennus would inherit the throne on his death. So it's also at this point that I want to say, obviously these are medieval titles. Duke comes from the Latin dukes, and these he just interchanges, just uses these all over the place. There are kings that answer to kings at certain parts, but really, I'm assuming by Duke, Geoffrey really means a chieftain. Yeah, because again, these are just Germanic peoples,
regional guys, warlords, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Brennus, of course, would build him his strength before build up his strength before taking the force of his new kingdom to the coast of Normandy, and from there he would invade the island of Britain. Now, stop me if you've heard the story of a French duke invading the island of Britain from Normandy before.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry, I'll stop you if I've heard it.
So, before they could do battle, however, the boy's mother ran onto the field to see Brennus.
Stop. I've heard that before. William the Conqueror.
That's right. Yeah, William the Bastard, Duke of Normandy.
William the Bastard, Le Batard.
Yeah.
Guillaume Le Batard.
So this is the really psychotic scene. So before Brennus and Belinus could do battle, their mother ran onto the field and just bared her breasts to Brennus. Just, boom, dumped them out. And this insane speech is what followed. Remember, my son, remember these breasts, which you once sucked. Remember the womb of your mother, in which the creator of all things fashioned you as a man-child from stuff that was not yet human, bringing you forth into the world while the birth pangs tore at her vitals because of you.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks for the pep talk.
All right, Mom, can I say that I remember and we just move on from this?
Remember these breasts which you once sucked.
Yeah, dude, like, what
Ugh.
the fuck, Mom? Like, that sucks.
You're embarrassing me.
My
Mom,
friends.
you're embarrassing me.
So
Son,
anyway,
remember my womb.
God damn, dude. So anyway, the speech goes on for an entire page, but that's the best part. The rest, she basically tells him to stop being a spoiled brat. He has his own kingdom now. For what purpose does he still want to control Britain? Which, I gotta say, it's other than the really weird beginning, not a bad sales pitch.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, damn, Ma, you're right. So the two brothers then embrace and agree to put their forces together to conquer all of Gaul. So like, yeah, let's stop killing each other. Why don't we just get these barbarians?
Absolutely.
So they fairly easily ravaged the entire countryside, and they subjugated all of the Gallic territories. They then set their sights on Italy and Rome. So during this invasion, Geoffrey claims that Rome is under the rule of the consuls Gabius and Porsenna. However, this should be around the year 700 BCE, when Rome was still a kingdom. There's also no mention of consuls by those names ruling in the same year together. And so now it was still a kingdom. So Brennus and Belinus' father, Dunvalo Mamutius, was alive when Rome was founded, according to Geoffrey. So it's kind of like gives you a hint of when it is. Now, Porsenna's name may be related to Lars Porsenna, an Etruscan king that fought the new Roman Republic 200 years in the future from when we are now.
Right.
That was in the 500s. So, but nonetheless, the Romans paid tribute to the British so that they would leave them alone, and then the British marched on to Germany. Great story, Geoffrey. So the
Actually,
Romans...
we beat the Romans first, like before we beat them before they even beat us. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess just maybe think of that next time.
Yeah, after, when the Romans finally did come to Britain, it was just like a bunch of barbarians sitting in thatched huts drinking like fertilized sheep's milk or some shit. Like,
Which, as we have previously discussed, they liked to sit and milk their sheep while they
yeah, that was the common
concocted
usage of the British sheep.
about.
Yeah, they would keep milking those sheep. So anyway, the Romans broke the treaty and marched on the British, so Belinus chose to tackle the Germans while Brennus marched back to Rome. The Romans then decided to quickly try to get back to Rome and beat Brennus, so Belinus disengaged from the Germans and laid an ambush for the Romans, easily defeating them. Brennus, meanwhile, laid siege to Rome, and Belinus followed on his heels. While Rome was being bludgeoned by the brothers, Gabius and Porsenna got word to the city that they were en route, and the Romans came storming out of the gates as the consuls appeared. While initially the Romans were winning, eventually the British brothers persevered and sacked the city. Brennus would stay in Italy and rule with an iron fist, which Geoffrey neglects to discuss as it is already known to history. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Nobody else has ever talked about this guy, Geoffrey. Belinus would return to Britain and rule in peace. Now, Belinus was succeeded by his son Gurguit Barbtruk, who was supposedly modest and wise.
Yeah.
So the Danes rebelled against the Britons, refusing to continue paying tribute. So Gurguit sailed to Denmark and laid waste to the Danes, forcing them to once more pay
This is
tribute.
just revenge porn. He's like, we beat the Romans, we beat the Danes, we beat.
We were just kicking everybody's ass
It's
before
like
they kicked ours.
Yeah, like a fanfic where you put all your bullies into it, and then you just talk about how you beat the shit out of them.
Actually, before the Danelaw, we were kicking their asses.
Yeah,
This
long
was a
before.
long time ago. They went to a different school.
You wouldn't know these Danes. They're from a different town.
Yeah, there's different ones. So then Geoffrey then tells a tale. Oh, wait, just a brief aside. Wait until he starts getting into Ireland, because
I bet
there's some justifications for the treatment of the Irish.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So Geoffrey then tells a tale that resembles Nennius' story of the Scots arriving in Ireland. Oh yeah, that's where it happens, yeah. Scots arriving in Ireland from Spain from his Historia Britona. In Geoffrey's version, a leader named Pertholoim is looking for somewhere to settle with his people that were expelled from Spain, the people being the Basilenses. Since Ireland was, according to this history, completely uninhabited at this time, Gurguit settled the Basilenses in Ireland, and these people became the Irish. Gwithelin took the throne after Gurgwit with no mention of relation. So, I don't know. It just suddenly goes to Gwithelin. Now, not much is mentioned of Gwithelin other than his wife, Marcia, or Marcia, or whatever, who came up with the Lex Martiana, also known as the Mercian Law, which King Alfred translated into the Saxon tongue, according to Geoffrey. In reality, the Code of Laws was called the Doom Book, the Dombock, which was compiled from various Saxon codes. And this was in 600, 700 CE, so way in the future. Marcia continued to rule after Gwythelin's death in lieu of his son, the young Caecilius. So at this point, Geoffrey just starts fucking rattling off kings with little to no story. Like, it's just like bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. Yeah. Like, he's just fucking telling the names with nothing.
And there was Bingaling Dombadoc and his son Grom, and then Grom's son Balatrask Numdernon, and then his son
Gorillion.
His son Benedict Cumberbatch, and then his son Trim, and then I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, so he's just fucking going on and on. But there was a particularly cruel king named Morvidus, who was eventually eaten by a sea monster that appeared out of the Irish Sea and ravaged the countryside.
Yeah, man.
So there's also the story of the crown passing back and forth between 5 brothers, a story I will spare as it is mostly boring and would be confusing since not much is said about any of them. One of the brothers had 3 different stints, however.
That's really funny. It's just like out of nowhere. It's just like, and then 5 brothers, and so brother 1 was king, but then it went to brother 3. Brother 3 lost, and then brother 2 was king, and then it went back to brother 3. Brother 3's got the crown. He's got the crown. He's got the crown. Oh no, here comes brother 4. Brother 4's got the crown. We're looking for 4. We're looking for 4. It's coming in hot. Coming in. Oh, brother 5. Brother 5, come from behind. He's got the crown. Back to brother 1. Back to brother 1, and then we're gonna go back to brother 2. Yeah. Brother 2 and brother 1. Brother 2. Brother 1. Brother 2. Brother 1. Brother 4. And the winner is brother 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a stupid as hell story, but yeah.
He's got to fill out. He's looking for filler at this point.
Yeah, you can tell when he's getting to the end of chapters.
Yeah,
because it just turns into this. So then at this point, it is literally just paragraphs of names being tossed out, one after the other, as this line of kings and brothers and cousins and uncles and nephews is just branching out and hopping from line to line. There's a lot of uncle magic afoot going on here. Although Geoffrey talks about how Trinavantum comes to be called Caerlud, then Caerlunden, and then London, and eventually Lundras. I don't know when it was Lundras. It's still London, Geoffrey.
I'm sure. Do you think that he was influenced by the Old Testament? Because a lot of this sounds kind of like the first couple books of the Bible, where then it's just and then such and such son of such and such lived for 90 years, and then such and such son of such and such lived for 80 years, and it just does. It's like that for pages and pages.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I said, at this part, it's literally just paragraphs of names, and you're like, why are you subjecting me to this? And so finally, the line passed to Cassivelaunus, who treats his nephews well with large tracts of land. So. His nephews were the son of the previous King Lud, and so it's a lot of, this is awesome part, dude. It's a lot of really cool uncle magic going on. It's just an uncle and his 2 cool nephews.
Yeah, having an absolute blast with their big tracts of land.
Yeah, dude, just huge tracts of land. So it would be Cassivelaunus that led the defense of the island from Caius Julius Caesar.
Nice. Is Cassivelaunus historically attested? Was he an actual British tribal leader?
We don't have to... because Julius Caesar talks about him in his Commentarii de Bello Gallico.
Yeah, that's what I actually have that. I should do an episode on that.
I was thinking about that too. You can do the episode if you want.
No, whatever.
I gave you your copyright because you have the Oxford one.
Yes, that's right. It's you wanted a different translation, and so you gave me your shittier translation.
Hey, fuck you, man.
No, I don't know. I assumed that was your reasoning.
No.
Just being nice.
No, because I just like the Penguin ones, and I bought that one accidentally. It was Oxford, so I like the way the bindings don't look when they're Penguin on my bookshelf. That was literally the reasoning.
Gotcha.
So anyway, now we go to the next chapter, The Coming of the Romans. So now the narrative shifts to Caesar after he has conquered Gaul and comes to the shores across the English Channel from Britain. So Geoffrey quotes Caesar as discussing Cassivellaunus's kingship and the British people as being descended from Troy like the Romans. Listen, we have Julius Caesar's first-person narrative of this exact moment, and this shit don't fucking go down like that.
It's not in there.
Yeah. This is not how I understand it happens. Yep, in Commentary on the Ballad Gallico by Caesar. Although, to be clear, I haven't read it yet. I just read some, synopses of this. Well, just double-checking. But from my understanding, Cassivellaunus is a chieftain, not no fucking king. And he was given command of the combined British forces. And this is in Caesar's telling, with no mention of Trojans. So Caesar demands tribute from Britain, not wanting to war with them, but is rebuffed by Cassivellaunus. And being rebuffed, Caesar prepared a fleet to depart for Britain and landed his army at the River Thames. So Cassivellaunus then marshaled his troops and marched south with a retinue, including his aforementioned nephews. That, combined nephew-uncle contingent
Three just healthy, corn-fed boys.
Yeah, dude.
Just helping their uncle fight the Romans.
Yeah. Just some country nephews. And so he was with some other petty kings on the island of Britain. So a massive pitched battle occurred in which Julius Caesar himself fought on the field, which is also unlikely. And also, interestingly, Geoffrey refers to him as emperor, at least in this Thorpe translation. Now, Geoffrey tells the story of how Caesar got into a sword fight with a Briton named Nennius and lost his sword to Nennius, who then got it and used it so well that everyone who he swung it at lost their head or were otherwise killed. This is more bullshit, of course, as the Roman gladius with a thrusting sword, and it was not a sword used in swordplay like was more common in Geoffrey's medieval era.
Yeah,
the way he says
they
it,
didn't do sword fighting like we think.
Yeah, exactly. You just stood there and you stabbed people.
From around your big-ass shield.
Yeah, exactly. But he literally paints this battle like it's a medieval battle,
right? With
knights swinging their swords back and forth. So eventually, the Britons repulsed the Romans, who fled back to Gaul. Now, in Caesar's telling in his Commentary, he defeated various combined forces of British tribes before Cassivellaunus surrendered and paid tribute before Caesar crossed back to Gaul. Geoffrey claims Cassivellaunus first gave thanks to God, and Lewis Thorpe is quick to note Cassivellaunus was, of course, a pagan. That's one of the footnotes I just really loved while reading it.
Thank you, Jesus. I know that you haven't been born yet, but
yeah, it's 50 BCE.
Thank you, Jesus, for this gift.
Yeah,
I hope one day when you come,
8 pound 10 ounce baby Jesus.
Yeah. Hey, sick reference, dude.
Yeah. So Nennius would die from his wounds by Caesar and be buried with Caesar's sword, which they named the Yellow Death, since, quote, no man who was struck by it escaped alive. Caesar then had to put down a rebellion in Gaul by bribing the Gauls back into passivity. Caesar then planned another invasion, and Cassivellaunus prepared for the invasion. One of the ways was by planting iron spikes in the Thames that would gut Caesar's ships. Thorpe notes that traces of these stakes can still be seen cased in lead and as thick as a man's thigh in the riverbed. The stakes worked and destroyed Caesar's fleet, with his remaining men running to ground with him for refuge. Again, the Romans were defeated, and Caesar fled back to Gaul. Now, those stakes, obviously, I guess, are there, but, I guess we don't really know,
right?
When they were put in or what they were used for. But Thorpe does say that they're there. So the Britons rejoiced and threw a massive party on the island, sacrificing tons of animals to the gods, and then some nephew magic occurred in a wrestling competition. So I'm just picturing the end of Star Wars Episode 1 at this point. So the king's nephew, Herelgdas, had his head lopped off by Culinus, the nephew of Duke Androgeus, himself a nephew of the king. So we just got tumbling nephews
on nephew
right here.
Crime, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the warring of the nephews. So Androgeus did not want to give up Culinus, and the king ravaged his lands until Androgeus sought the help of Caesar.
Okay.
So Androgeus wrote a letter to Caesar that includes such reassuring lines, essentially saying, "Yo, I know I fought you before, but the king's being a dick over some nephew mischief, where his nephew may have had his head lopped off during a wrestling match with my nephew. But if you land here in Britain and help me depose him, you can be master of Britain, and I will be restored to honor. For real, this isn't treachery. I would not dream of it." And Caesar was like, that sounds like treachery.
Yeah.
And so he was reluctant, and so Androgeus sent his own son and like 12 other nobles as hostages.
Yeah, that absolutely smacks of treachery. Treachery? Treachery.
Treachery.
That absolutely smacks of treasure.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes.
Yes, quite.
Yes, treasure, as you said.
So Caesar, for a third time, landed on the island, and Cassivellaunus, who is besieging some territory, immediately peeled off the siege and went to meet Caesar on the battlefield while Androgeus lay in ambush. The plan worked, and Cassivellaunus fled the battle in retreat while being harangued by Caesar and Androgeus until he was sieged atop a hill. Geoffrey writes, quote, "Since he could not conquer the king by force of arms, his plan was to reduce him by hunger. How remarkable the British race was at that time. Twice it had put to flight the man who had subjected to his will the entire world. Even now, when driven off the battlefield, the Britons went on resisting the man whom the whole world could not withstand. They were ready to die for their fatherland and for their liberty."
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so yeah, he's just jerking off the British there.
Yeah.
So Cassivellaunus begged Androgeus to make peace between them and Caesar, and so Androgeus begged Caesar to end the slaughter, and the Britons would pay yearly tribute to Caesar. Caesar agreed, spent the winter in Britain, became friends with Cassivellaunus, and left in the spring for Gaul, and then marched to Rome to attack Pompeii. Sancho has come to contribute.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Sancho.
What's going on, Sancho?
What kind of seltzer are you drinking, by the way, now that we have our little intermission here?
Yeah, I'm drinking a Waterloo watermelon.
Oh, very nice. You got some Waterloos?
Yeah, my roommate went to Christmas tree shops, and they have it there, so, including the strawberry. We got some strawberries, so I've been slamming those this week.
I've got one of my absolute favorites, Wegmans Dragon Fruit Berry, which is an absolute slapper. This is a very good flavor.
Yeah. Nice. I'm happy for you.
Dude, Wegmans seltzers are top
Never
tier.
had. There's no Wegmans around here.
I'll bring you some Wegmans. I'll bring you some Dragon Fruit Berry, and I'll bring you... Their ginger is awesome. Do you like ginger seltzer? All right.
I don't dislike it. It just doesn't do anything for me.
But they're real showstopper. They do a black cherry vanilla that is
nice. Yeah, I would like that one.
It's absolutely gangster. It's very good.
I would like that one. All right. So moving right along. So Androgeus would go back to Rome with Caesar, and so when Cassivellaunus died, he would be succeeded by Tenvantius, the brother of Androgeus. Now, Cymbeline, Tenvantius' son, would succeed after being reared in the court of Augustus. Cymbeline loved the Romans and had a great relationship with them, and so happily continued paying tribute. His son, Guiderius, refused to pay, and so the Emperor Claudius launched another invasion of Britain from Rome.
That's like a pretty quick 50-year jump there.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
even more than 50, dude.
Yeah, I guess
that's like a 100-year jump.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, no, Claudius lived at the same time as Augustus. He was just a kid.
Yeah, but like when he invaded, that was like 35.
Oh yeah,
30, something like that. So yeah, maybe like 80 years, I guess, because it went from like Caesar to Claudius.
Yeah, big leap.
Yeah, so Claudius was getting owned by the Britons until his general, one man named Lelius Hamo, who had learned British language and custom, disguised himself as a British soldier, snuck up to the king Guiderius, and murdered him, turning the tide of the battle. However, I fucking hate this name, Arviragus, the brother of Guiderius, took up his dead brother's mantle and rallied his men into defeating the Romans. While Claudius fled to his ship, Hamo fled to the southern coast and was killed trying to board a merchant ship. This place is called Southampton, after Hamo.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Finally, Claudius defeated Britain by proposing to marry his daughter Genvissa to Arviragus, thus bringing the island back under Roman control. Supposedly, she was such a good lay that Arviragus told Claudius they should found a city where they were married, and so Gloucester was founded. So eventually some dispute erupted between Vespasian and Arviragus with some brutal battles. But Genvissa told everyone, oh man, I don't even know what my notes say there.
Eventually some dispute erupted between Vespasian and Arviragus with some brutal battles.
To chill, sorry. But I accidentally wrote child in my notes, folks. So Genvissa told everyone to chill, and they sent their troops over to Ireland. So again, this is just where the British just send all the people they don't want to Ireland.
Yeah, it's like the original Australia.
Yeah. So I have no clue what this means that they sent their troops over to Ireland. They just go there. I don't know. I guess to beat up some IRA folks.
Yeah, the Troubles, Part 1.
Yeah, the early Troubles. But then the winter passed and Vespasian returned to Rome with everything being copacetic. So Arviragus would rule for a while longer before dying and being buried in Gloucester. He was succeeded by his son Marius. I guess no relation to the Roman Marius. So Geoffrey then describes how the Picts came from Scythia and were led by a man named Sodric. They warred with Marius until Sodric died, and Marius settled the Picts in Albany, but lacking women, they went to Ireland and grabbed a bunch of Irish women, and that's how the Scots came about.
Nice. So really, they're just a bunch of Scythian Spaniards.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So Marius was succeeded by his wise son, Coilus.
His big, wide son, Coilus.
Yeah, his large adult son, Coilus, who is succeeded by his in-kind son, Lucius, also wise, who converted himself and quickly the entirety of the island to Christianity. This is in the year 100. There is no corroboration that Lucius was real or that the Britons converted to Christianity at this time, being in the 2nd century CE. But it was an account popularized by Saint Bede in the 8th century. Although the story of Lucius personally converting, not the whole island, just personally, dates back to the 6th century.
Is that the Venerable Bede?
Yes, that is the Bede.
Bede.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, the Saint Bede.
He went on to start the Beatles. That's how the Beatles started.
Yeah, that's actually what that's... Yeah, for sure. So Lucius eventually dies, and then Geoffrey gives a confusing tale of a war with Rome, where he is seemingly unaware of the Antonine Wall having been built after the Hadrian Wall. And then it says Lucius died in 156 CE, but supposedly Severus, who wouldn't rule for another 35 years. At this point, Severus is 14 years old. But he says Severus, who is emperor, traveled to get them back under control, quote, once the fact of the death of Lucius was known in Rome. So... unless it took 4 decades for word to get to Rome, it's just, this is where it really gets fucking confusing.
Yeah.
And where it's also at this, there's a lot of written material about the Roman Empire at this time.
Yeah.
You would think you would have double checked some of this info, but maybe it was lost. Maybe only the Muslims knew about it at that time.
I think it would have been hard to, that's true. A lot of this stuff was lost to posterity and was even a lot of the ancient Greek philosophers and stuff like that were all kept alive in the Muslim world.
Yeah, exactly. During
basically
the Golden Age.
Europe was just full of fucking dummies.
Yeah, just fucking sheep milkers.
Over here just milking sheep, just tugging sheep udder all day.
And just being like, oh, well, I'm from Southampton, so maybe it's where Hamill's from.
Cut it out. Don't even do that. Sound like you're tugging sheep teat. Making me nervous.
All right, so after a while, the story passes to Severus' sons Geta and Caracalla. Although Geoffrey names Caracalla as Bassianus, despite Caracalla being named officially Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. Bassianus was his birth name as Lucius Septimius Bassianus. So he claims Caracalla was half British on his mother's side and was only half brothers with Geta, although this is just simply not true, as Caracalla's mother was Roman Syrian and also was Geta's mother. Although Geoffrey, they said that they had different mothers.
Yeah, he just liked that better.
Yeah. So eventually, a man named Carausius was granted military power from Rome to defend the coast of Britain. He rallied the island together and kicked the Romans out by defeating Caracalla in battle. However, the real Carausius did successfully rebel against Rome and become emperor of Britain and Northern Gaul, but that was around 70 years after Caracalla's death. So that's when the empire fractured.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember
the
this.
Gallic Empire and was it what was the one in the east?
Oh gosh, they were around for a while.
Yeah, the Pal. I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right, so where are we at? Okay, so A Roman reaction against this treason occurs, and Carausius is killed, but the Romans successfully repelled with one Asclepiodotus ruling the island. With no mention of when it came back under Roman rule, Diocletian begins persecuting the Christian island with help from Maximian. The two nearly eradicated Christianity from the island. So there goes that. Eventually, Cole takes over as king, and Constantius, that's the Constantius Chlorus from earlier, is sent to resubjugate the island. I can't stress enough how confusing this timeline of events is, as unclear in Geoffrey's history when the island isn't under Roman control. Like, seemingly it's under control, and then he talks about how the Romans are conquering it. In, like, 2 sentences back to back. It became, like, really difficult to follow exactly the narrative here.
What? No, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and then he keeps seemingly anachronistically placing known Roman figures too, which just like really adds to it because
he's just like he's just peppering celebrity guest appearances. Into
right,
his story.
And it's like I have some knowledge of Roman history and when certain famous Romans lived, and when you think that you're in the year 200 and then you hear about people who wouldn't exist for like another 80, 100 years, but you're still seemingly in the year 200, it gets you get all backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So now Geoffrey claims that Constantius became king of Britain and took a British princess as wife named Helen, the daughter of Cole, with whom he had his son, the future Roman Emperor Constantine. This is, of course, again, not true, as Constantine's mother, Helena, was a low-born Greek, not a British princess. I guess those are about the same at this period of time, though. But,
sure.
Hey.
Crooked Greek.
Yeah. So Geoffrey claimed Constantine became king of Britain, which is again wrong, as he was a military man that eventually rose to co-emperor, indeed ruling Britain, but as Caesar, a title given to him not from his father, but from Galerius, and he also ruled Gaul and Spain. Constantine would then march on Rome and became sole emperor after defeating Maxentius.
Yeah, Constantine rocks.
Yeah, he's cool. I
We
like him
should
a lot.
absolutely just do an episode about Constantine.
That would probably have to be two.
So easily two.
Yeah. Eventually, a Briton named So eventually, a Briton named Octavius would take the island as his kingdom from Rome during the reign of Gratian and Valentinian II. Upon his death, a succession crisis unfolded. Excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you. It was decided that Octavius would have the Roman senator Maximianus, who was half Briton again, marry his daughter. Maximianus was said to be a nephew of King Cole and the descendant of Constantine. After he slaughtered some Franks on the way to Britain, he landed on the island and was initially at first assumed an invader, but after a tense standoff, he married the king's daughter and became the new king as Octavius was going senile. At first, a Briton named Corineus that hoped to become king rose up in rebellion. After a brutal war, the two sued for peace and after some years invaded Gaul, first taking the Armorican Peninsula, which is also known as Brittany. They planned to conquer all of Gaul, genocide the inhabitants, and populate it with Britons. Like, they straight up were like, yeah, we're going to kill all these Gauls and then bring some nice British folks in here. In this, they were successful, and Maximianus even killed the Emperor Gratian and drove Valentinian out of Rome. Despite Maximianus conquering all of Gaul, he now found an uprising of Gauls and Aquitanians harassing Corineus, who had been risen to a kingship in Armorica. So again, this is another like saucy little note by Thorpe. He notes the contradiction here in the story of Maximianus conquering all of Gaul, but apparently now having his mainland stronghold under assault by Gaul. Eventually, Corineus persevered and ordered more British women be brought over to populate, and as well as more troops be brought over. However, they were waylaid in a storm and crashed into the coast of Germany and were taken by the Picts and the Huns. Most of everybody was killed, with some of the women being taken. Another L for the ladies. So the island being unguarded now, the Picts and Huns under Wanius and Melga invaded and slaughtered their way through the countryside, until Maximianus sent a couple legions to take it back and drive the invaders to Ireland. Poor Ireland. Just sending all the unwanteds.
Yeah.
Maximianus was then killed in Rome, and the freedmen sent to reconquer Britain, also named Gratian, no relation to the dead emperor, became king before being assassinated because he was a jerk. Now, the story is obviously massively embellished, and many details changed, as is Geoffrey's custom, but there is some truth in what he says. This is basically Geoffrey recounting a highly editorialized version of Magnus Maximus, who usurped the Western Empire from Gratian in 383 and he killed Gratian. And then he ruled Gaul, Hispania, Africa, and Britannia until he invaded Italy and was defeated in battle by Valentinian. He surrendered and was executed. Rome would have trouble ever getting a foothold again in northern Gaul and Britannia. So there's some truth in what he said. Now, at this point, Britain just keeps getting invaded by other peoples, and so the Romans bailed the island out once more before finally alerting them that they would be recalling the legions stationed there, and Britain would have to defend themselves as Rome refused to be, quote, importuned on land and sea for the sake of a cowardly pack of vagabond freebooters.
My people.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
Never has there been a more cowardly pack of vagabond freebooters as the British.
Yeah. So now, I'm going to read, it's kind of a long paragraph, but I really liked it, after this, when Rome is just like, yo, fuck you, dorks.
Okay.
All right, so the moment the Romans said goodbye and went away, apparently never to return, the enemies whom I have mentioned reappeared once more from the ships in which they had sailed off to Ireland. They brought with them other companies of Scots and Picts, with Norwegians, Danes, and all the rest whom they had under command, and seized the whole of Albany up to the wall. Once the departure of those who had supported the Britons became known, and the fact that they had sworn never to return, the invaders pressed on even more confidently than before with their devastation of the island. In opposition to them, slow-witted peasants were posted on the top of the walls, men useless in battle, who were unable even to run away for the very palpitation of their bellies, and who shook with fear through the days and nights on top of their stupid perches. Meanwhile, the enemy continued to ply their hooked weapons, dragging the miserable plebs down from the walls with them, so that they were dashed to the ground. The very suddenness of the death they endured was a stroke of luck to those who were killed in this way, for by their immediate execution they avoided the miserable torments which awaited their brothers and their children.
Metal.
So shit's not going good for Britain.
No. We're leaving off on sort of a cliffhanger here.
Yeah, sheep milking time is over.
Absolutely. Time to drop the teat of your sheep and pick up your swords. Time to hammer those plowshares into blades.
Yep. And they would beg the Romans again for help and receive none. And that's the end of that.
Their text was left unread.
Yeah. Yeah, it was left unread.
It's like our name.
Yeah, that's the name, folks.
Cool, this book sucks. So I'm following right along with everything you're saying. I am left so confused by this history, quote unquote, of Britain.
It is baffling.
There's a lot of fun stuff in there, but it is truly nuts. There's just so much going on and so many names. You're right,
And, like, sometimes Geoffrey just gets into wicked fucking long, like, paragraph descriptions of just people being hacked to fucking bits and shit.
Well, he knows what the readers want.
Yeah. The hack and then slash and then hack.
Yeah, they want They want to hear about
loves that meat.
And then Gallaumalbus ripped the tits off of the Picts, and then Dino Malamomnos came, and he said every third man I'm gonna peel his dick like a banana, and then he did it, guys, and then the Trojans came, and they took all the giants and they boiled them into a pot until they turned into, and that's how spaghetti sauce was invented, and then guess what? You didn't see this coming. But the Huns are back, and now all of their horses have lasers for eyes. And then the Revolutionary War happens, and George Washington fights Julius Caesar in a steel cage grudge match to see who will be the king of Spain.
Yeah, meanwhile, King Marmaduke eats some Pictish nipple soup.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Well, that's a delicacy. Now you're just making fun of my culture. Nipple soup is good.
Yeah.
It's nipple soup, haggis, and oatmeal.
Yeah,
And those are the traditional foods of Scotland.
That's a full Scottish breakfast.
Yeah. They don't call it nipple soup, though.
A Sunday night fry-up.
They call it Killigan Spank. But it's nipple soup.
Yeah, it's Pictish nipple soup, yeah.
Yeah. Seasoned liberally with sheep's
Okay, yeah,
milk.
anyway. So that is parts 2 and 3 of the history of the kings of Britain.
Well, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
This is wild. I'm ready for part 3, but I gotta say I have no idea what's going on.
I've got something else planned for my next one.
Yeah.
As an interlude.
We'll take
it's
a little
bit
departure.
of current events for some of the stuff that's going on south of the border. And then I'll probably be back in about a month with part 3.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
Nice. Well, that's I do not envy you the task of having parsed through this long and stupid book, but I am glad that you've done the work and that I now know about Gloigen, Ignigen, Udis, Gwenllian, Guarded, Angarad, Gwenlado, Tungastel,
Hector.
Gorgon, Medlin, Methandalo,
Hector.
Orar, Malor, Kembrida, Reagan, Gale, Ecub, Nest, Chain, Stadud, Caldus, Bebrine, Blangan, Abalak, Gangos, Galles, Cedra, Aenor, Stadiald, and Egron. And that was all from
And don't
memory,
forget
folks.
Rud Hud Hudibras.
Yeah, Rud Hud Hudibras.
Love that fucking name. Yeah, so the next part that I do is going to be, I guess, the House of Constantine, even though we've already talked about Constantine.
Yeah.
The Prophecies of Merlin, and then back to the House of Constantine. And then part 4 will be King Arthur.
Cool, that'll be fun. King Arthur's
And then
fun.
the Saxon domination. So,
All right.
King Arthur.
Sweet. So you heard it here, folks. We are not done with this yet. Your prayers have been answered, and there will be much more. We're not even at the halfway mark. All right?
Okay, we're
Keep
about
that
to,
in
yeah,
mind.
we are. We're at the halfway.
We're at the halfway mark, folks. You heard it here first. From me
Well, actually,
first.
hold on. The next one's maybe more.
I want more on Rud Hud Hudibras.
Dude, I wish there was more. Yeah, we're like halfway through.
All right, well, that's good.
Rud Hud Hudibras.
Rud Hud Hudibras.
Yeah, okay, well, anyway, folks, so thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Leave a review.
Sure.
And, tell your friends, your family, your uncle, your nephew. If you've got another uncle or another nephew, tell them.
Your brand new dad that you just bought.
Yep, your new lawn mowing dad. Yeah. And so thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. On the next edition of Left Unread.
Bye.